Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to update you guys on my 3D print business, what's going on with Etsy, how those sales are going, and kind of everything that's been going on in my 3D print room and some new projects I've been working on. So let's go ahead and jump into Etsy since it's been a while since I've updated you guys on the sales on that side. I know there's a lot of controversy right now as far as being able to sell 3D prints on Etsy. Right now, I'm just kind of doing the same thing that I've always been doing until I'm told otherwise. None of my listings have been removed or anything like that. So I'm just going to keep going. I do have all original photos, and any product that I do have for sale, I am a Patreon member or I've bought the commercial rights to these things. So I don't think that should affect me. And I really don't have a bunch of those Flexi Dragons on my site either. It's more practical stuff and kind of within a certain niche that isn't flooding Etsy or anything like that. So nothing's changed with that on my end. So for the month of June, I had a total of 22 sales, which I think this has probably been my busiest and best month so far. Not as far as revenue, but as far as actual total number of orders. So I've had a couple of things that have been the most popular, and it is these ammo containers, and then also these little ammo buddies for some reason. I sell them in packs of 2 for pretty cheap, but I've sold quite a few of those, which has been nice, and then those ammo containers as well. So those have been my top 2 selling things, and I am planning on, since these are pretty small and only a 22 long rifle, I'm planning on doing some larger ones and some bigger calibers, because I've had a lot of people ask, hey, do you have other calibers or bigger calibers available? Well, I just hadn't printed them out yet. So, you know, for taking product photos and stuff, you have to kind of print out almost every color and caliber. So I went ahead and am working on that. I'm almost there, so I can finally get these up, but I'm going to kind of limit the color options that are available just to make it easier on my end. I kind of think the white and black and dark gray have been the most popular with the smaller ones, so kind of stick with that. And I'm just keeping the bottom a basic black. That way I'm not going through a bunch of different colors of filament. So trying to keep those as simple as possible, but still make them pretty cool and unique. So total for this year, I've had about a total of 47 sales, which I know is pretty small, but I'm not really focusing a whole lot of attention on Etsy. Like I said, I don't have that many items for sale, so I'm not putting a whole lot of focus on that. I'm actually kind of focusing more on YouTube and stuff. But you know, for something that's just a side gig, that's not bad at all, especially since I just started the shop in February at some point and just posted some stuff for sale. And I haven't updated any of the listings. I've just kind of kept the same pictures and everything. Probably go ahead and update some of those pictures just to have something different. But so far, still getting orders on most of the stuff that's for sale. Now, since we're more than halfway through the year, let's go ahead and see what I've spent on actual ads and fees and stuff like that through Etsy, because they do kind of add up. So this is all according to Etsy, just based on the information that they have under the finances section for all year since I've started this, from basically January, even though I didn't start until February, until July of this year. So as of right now, we've had a total of $1,176 worth of sales, which is awesome, especially for the small 3D print stuff that I've had. And then as far as marketing goes, I do have a budget set. I think I've changed it to about $2 per day. I was at $5, but that was adding up pretty quickly. So $2 a day hasn't been too bad, been still getting exposure. I just don't want to spend too much on the marketing right now. But so far this year in marketing, I've spent about $297. And then fees through Etsy, credit card processing, stuff like that, it's about $107.40. And then also, since they count shipping as part of your sales, it looks like they kind of have a shipping section there of $233, but the buyer actually pays shipping, so it's not something that I'm losing money on. So I think that's just something that they show, that they've charged about $233 for shipping, but again, the buyer pays for that shipping cost. So according to Etsy, it says my net profit, basically sales minus all the fees and everything, it's about $537. And that's actually, for me, not bad, kind of a side gig. Again, something I'm not paying a whole lot of attention to, but the holiday season this year, I'm really going to focus on those, especially Halloween and Christmas. So I need to actually start finding some stuff that I'm going to sell for those holidays, and probably start printing and getting those things ready, just because they will be here before you know it. So I think that's really going to drive sales too. So I'm definitely going to increase my focus on Etsy for the rest of the year. So that'll be a good way to see how the first part of the year went versus the second part, which we're going to be getting into. So now moving on to the fun stuff. And as you can probably tell behind me, a lot has actually changed in this room as far as the setup and the stuff that I have in here. I'm pretty much at my capacity, and I'll kind of take you for a tour, but I've probably changed up this room 3 times now. Today was another time that I rearranged things for, again, the 3rd time, just because I'm getting more and more stuff and trying to play Tetris trying to fit all this stuff in this small bedroom has been real fun, and it's definitely been a lot of work. And unfortunately, I did have to kick one of my printers out of here and move it into the other office studio, but we'll go over that. But yeah, working on several different videos, especially going over a couple printers that I got, and then projects and things like that. I do have another project from Full that I'm working on that's sponsored by Polymaker. I actually got 2 of those that I got to do, and then just a bunch of other videos that I got to put out. I've been really busy with that stuff, so I've got a lot of cool stuff planned for you guys. But let's go ahead and take a look at this room and see how things have changed since the last video. All right, so this is the room set up right now. As you can see, it has filled up like crazy. I went ahead and put up a filament rack. It's that Repcord system. I really didn't want to do it because I hate putting holes in walls, just because, you know, you never know when you're going to move. And I hate filling the holes because when you patch them, even though you're using the same paint, it never matches perfectly. But went ahead, sucked it up and did it. And I thought this was going to be more than enough to actually hold all my filament. But as you can see, I have more here, some down there. There's more in that closet. And then obviously all those boxes are full down there. But those are all the stuff that's been sponsored by Polymaker. So kind of keeping that stuff separate. But yeah, I definitely thought I was gonna have enough room up there, and unfortunately I didn't measure it right. I could have probably dropped them a little bit lower and put a 3rd rack, but that just would have been more holes. So this is enough for me. So I basically got all my colors up there and kind of like grays, whites over here. So that's kind of how I'm keeping it right now, but it is definitely hard to organize by color, especially when you're swapping out stuff a bunch. But that's probably the newest thing that I've done so far. I don't have anything else up on the walls, but I was thinking about doing it over there, but there's a bathroom on that other side, so I didn't want to accidentally hit a pipe or something, because I've seen people do that. And then as you can see, the printers have changed. I've gotten a couple, actually a few new ones since you guys have been on here. So I still have the original 2 A1s, and then the A1 Mini has its own shelf over here because I was needing room to put stuff that I'm printing out. And this is the only shelf that would fit in here. I would have loved to have gotten one of the big garage shelves, but I'm out of room. So this is the only one that would actually fit in here. But the A1 Mini fits on here just fine. And then you can see the full model that I've printed out. I just need to go ahead and put that thing together. And then some filament testing that I've been doing. This stuff is using UJoy Bio's metal filament. That stuff came out really great. And then of course up here, you've probably seen the video, but the summer castle. That thing is large and I'm not quite sure what to do with it. We will be putting the winter stuff on for obviously Christmas, but until then, it's probably just unfortunately going to sit up there and collect dust because I don't have anywhere else to put it. So yeah, in the last video, I did have my A1 over here and then my computer and stuff over here along with the other A1 over there and the A1 Mini. However, when they're running a print and I'm trying to work on the computer, that monitor was shaking pretty bad and it made it to where it was kind of hard to read and see what was going on. So I figured, hey, let's move all the printers to one table. This desk will be perfect for filming and doing shipping stuff and whatever else work I need to do. So that's what I've kind of converted this desk into. Is I have my little shipping station where I print out labels and stuff like that. I have the scale over there as well. And obviously this is where I kind of shoot some videos too. So that's basically what that desk is for. And then this one, since it is a hefty desk, it is the uplift desk that I did a video on earlier. This thing has been great and can obviously hold a bunch of printers. But unfortunately, I am missing one printer in here. Like I said, the Elegoo Century Carbon got kicked out because I didn't have room for it. And I was trying to decide which printer to actually get rid of and put it in that office. And I went with that one because it actually was the smallest one to fit on the table that I have it on there. And since it's single color, it just made it easier because I'm not bringing a bunch of different filaments in that office. So unfortunately, the Elegoo Century Carbon, great printer, have had no issues with that thing, but it got moved to the other room. So I did pick up a Bambu Lab P1S. I've been wanting one of these for a long time, and with their anniversary sale, I went up to Micro Center. They honored the sale price, so I'm like, let's just go ahead and do it. I did get the AMS2 Pro since it was only $100 more. And this thing has been a workhorse. It's been working great. I do have the Big Tree Tech Panda touchscreen on here. It still works. It still connects to actually all these printers, the Bambu printers it's connected to, but I use it to control this one, especially for selecting filament. I have not upgraded to the latest software because I think if you update to the latest firmware anyway, it will not allow this to work. At least that's what they made it seem like. It was going to stop all third-party stuff from working on their printers. So I'm going to go ahead and not update this to the latest firmware because I still want to use this, because again, that touchscreen is not very great, but this one makes it a little bit easier to actually go through the menus and stuff. So I'm just going to keep it as is. The printer works great with the current firmware that it's on, and this thing's been awesome. Like I said, I've been really wanting one of these, and now that I got one, it's awesome. I love it. And then of course the A1s, they just work. But these are the two newer editions as well. These were actually sent to me by Qidi and Anycubic, and they're the two that I'm working on videos for. The Qidi Plus 4, I don't know if you guys can tell how big that is, but that thing is huge and it's heavy. Like, they do have these handles right here to lift it and move it, and you definitely need those because it has some weight to it. But again, it is 305 by 305, so definitely a much larger build plate than any of these. And I do love the fact that it has a heated chamber, so I do have some engineering filament coming to test out. They did just release the multicolor system for this one. However, they're out of stock for quite a while, but that is a cool thing that will be added to this at some point. But the actual filament feeds in here pretty smooth. Definitely a lot better than the Century Carbon, because the Century Carbon, it gets really tight around the corner here. But this one, plenty of room. Have no issues feeding that in at all. But so far the Qidi Plus 4 has worked fine for me, but you guys will obviously see all of that in the separate video. This one right here though has given me a lot of trouble. I was doing some prints and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna find an 8-color print, and it did great until about 78%, and then that's when I started having problems. And at first I thought it was maybe just this Ace Pro, then I switched some stuff over, and then I'm having issues with both of them. Basically not wanting to feed the filament, and it's really not liking matte filament for some reason. I did have a little bit of filament stuck in here, so once I took that out, I thought maybe that would fix it, but it did not. So after trying different filaments and just wasting prints because they kept failing, I went ahead, since I had to move everything around anyway, I took this whole thing apart, took the whole print head apart, took both of these apart, and there was nothing. There's nothing stuck in there or anything, so I'm not sure what the issue is or if there's a fix for that. And again, some people said keep it away from the wall, and as you can see, it's away from the wall. Like, I cannot get any further away from the wall, so it's not that it's actually sensing a tangle. So I've kind of eliminated that, but yeah, I haven't posted that video yet because I want this thing to work. I want to like it. The actual prints that I got initially came out great, and I think the printer itself is fine. It's just something to do with these Ace Pros. And I know after looking on a Facebook group for this style printer, a lot of people are having the same issues. Some people said just moving it up from the wall worked, but in my case that didn't. And I tried a bunch of different company filaments, and it still for some reason does not like to feed it. So still trying to figure that out. I really want this thing to work. I want to like it because being able to do more than 4 colors will come in handy. And then this is my other office studio. Sorry for the terrible lighting. I had to use the fan light real quick, but this is where I unfortunately had to move the Century Carbon. Is on this corner. It actually fit perfect on this table, but I feel like it needs to be in the other room, but unfortunately there is no room for it. But with it being single color, again, I can just run whatever single color prints I want in here. And I do spend a lot of time at this desk doing a bunch of editing and stuff. So I think having a printer in here might work out well, and I have a feeling I'm probably going to end up with more anyway, so might as well start filling up this room as well. So if you guys haven't seen the older studio tour on this before I got into 3D printing, this is kind of where I do the YouTube stuff, and then this is kind of my 9-to-5 job desk over here. But definitely could probably put some printers in here. Might be able to hang that TV and put them on that crate right there, or there's some room over there, but I don't want to put too many printers in here because when I am working during the day, they're going to be kind of loud. But this is kind of what that studio setup looks like. I usually have the lantern on this light, but it's in the other room right now. So again, back in this one, and I think I'm pretty much at the limit for this one. I don't even know where I'm going to put my filament dryers. I got the EBOS down there, the Creality one, and these new Sunlu ones that I need to do a video on, but I've been using that one. It works great, but unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to keep these on the floor. But my concern is, obviously, there's a lot of power consumption in here, and I think I'm probably at capacity, especially if I plug in all the dryers too, especially since these require power. and the new AMS one requires power. That is a lot of power being drawn in here. So I don't know if I could actually physically put more 3D printers in here just because of the electricity consumption in here. But yeah, I think I'm at my max capacity with printers in here, unfortunately. Well, I guess I could technically probably put another A1 Mini right there. So I'm really excited to do some more printing with the Qidi Plus 4. That thing's been really cool so far, and it can do some really cool things. And in case you don't realize how big that build plate is, this is the build plate that it comes with, the 305 millimeter. And then this is it compared to the A1's build plate, and then the A1 Mini. So that build size does make a bit of a difference, especially if you're somebody that prints out helmets or larger things. This build plate on the Qidi Plus 4 might be the perfect size for you, and you don't have to pay HD2 money for a bigger build plate. So definitely excited about that, kind of print some bigger stuff and especially work with higher temperature filaments like ABS and then some of the engineering filaments as well to kind of see how that stuff goes. Now I know it does have the carbon or charcoal filter or whatever that's in there. I'm not sure if I still need to exhaust anything out this window maybe. If I do, that's going to be kind of a process. So I'm going to kind of start some small prints, especially with ABS. Maybe do something small with ABS just to see if it kind of smells in here and what I might have to do with that. But hopefully I won't have to exhaust that out a window, and just that filter will help keep the fumes out of here. But we'll see how that goes. If you guys have any suggestions on that, let me know. I do have a very small air purifier in here. I don't think it's big enough for what I'm doing in here now. It kind of worked with like, you know, a few printers, but with all these in here, I probably need to get a bigger air filter just to be safe. But definitely want to know how it's going to be once I start printing with the higher temp stuff that's a little more toxic. So I think that's all the updates for now. I'm going to go ahead and start running calibrations on these printers since I did have to move them around. I'm going to recalibrate everything. I already did the P1S and the Qidi. I'm going to go ahead and do the Bambu Lab A1 so I can get those up and going and start printing off some more of these ammo containers so I can get those listed. I'm probably going to recalibrate the Anycubic, even though it's frustrated me. I've had it turned off for the last couple days just because I've been frustrated with the failed prints on that. But I've made sure everything's clear. There's nothing in the tubes. I actually disconnected all the tubes, made sure everything was clear. So fingers crossed it's actually going to work this time. But at some point I will get that video out. I really want to get it working before I put the video out, but if I can't, it just is what it is. But if you guys like this content and want to follow me on my 3D print journey and running a 3D print business, hit that like and subscribe button so you'll be notified when I hopefully eventually come out with the Anycubic printer video and then also the Qidi one. But until then, check out these other videos right here.